Rick Vito. How's it going with you these days?
Real good, man. Very well.
You doing a lot of work still?
Well, right now I'm in a period where I'm doing a lot of recording, working on a lot of recording things here at my home studio. And so that's kind of what's preoccupying my time right now.
How much music are you producing for people now?
Well, I'm working on a project for myself, and also if the Mick Fleetwood Blues Band gets an opportunity to go back in the studio, then I'll be armed with a whole group of songs for that. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
And taking all your time up till summer, probably?
Yes, that's exactly true.
Well, it's good to keep busy.
Well, you got to keep busy, yeah, that's true.
What's the guitars you kept throughout the years, from the early days to now? Do you still have most of the collection still?
Well, I wish I did. I do have some that I've kept for a long time. The guitar that I used with Bob Seger on his song Like a Rock, I kept that. It's a 1956 Les Paul Jr. And I have an old Gibson J45 I've had, and a Gretsch. Yeah, I guess about 1/4 of my collection I've had for a good long time.
When you recorded with Fleetwood Mac, what type of amplification did you use and guitars on those songs?
Well, I had Dumble amplifiers then. Dumble amps are probably the most expensive amps you can buy right now, if you can even find one. They are custom made, and back then I was given one by Jackson Browne, and I bought another one to go as a spare. And then my guitars, I've got a couple that I designed myself that I used. I used that Les Paul I mentioned, and a couple of just utility guitars that aren't worth much but just sound good that I've had for years.
And this amp you talked about, would this be an amp you'd bring live on stage?
Yeah, I don't have it anymore, but I used to use it, Bob Seger and Fleetwood Mac.
So basically everything you did, in Bob Seger and Fleetwood Mac, it would have came from that amp like a guitar tone?
Yes.
It's almost an original type tone that nobody else can get.
Well, I have a theory about all that. Some people think that the sound comes from an amplifier, and it does to a certain extent, but I really believe that the bigger part of the person's sound comes from just the way they play and just the way their touch and everything, the way they set their dials on the amp.
How long would a session be lasting with Fleetwood Mac when you go into the studio and, product's finished and say, wow, look at this?
Well, they took a long time. They, we would go to the studio around noon and stay till dinner time every day, sometimes later, and for the better part of a year. And so they used to do things real slowly, and they really take their time.
With your whole complete discography, is there even bands that you forgot that you played with that ain't marked on your website? Because I find it's an incredible list. Well,
every now and then something turns up, or somebody will bring a record to my attention that I forgot that I even played on, back in the 70s or 80s or something. And that happens every now and then. I compiled a list once of all the different people I could think of who maybe I didn't, actually make a record with them, but, I maybe appeared on stage with them or jammed with them or something like that. That's a pretty amazingly long list when I think of it. I guess, when you spend as long in the business as I have, it just happens that way.
I mean, you recorded with Roy Orbison?
Yes.
How was that feeling?
I felt like I was working with one of the sweetest guys in the world. He was, just the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. And every time I'd see him prior to that, he would come to a Fleetwood Mac show or a Bob Seger show or something like that and say, "Man, we're going to record together someday, and you're my favorite slide guitar player." Well, if Roy Orbison tells you you're his favorite slide guitar player, you must be doing something right. And so we finally did get to record a little bit before he passed away.
How was the recording process with him?
Well, it was funny. It was being produced by Billy and Burnette, who did Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, and something that was just another Grammy. He just won tons of Grammys. Anyway, his whole approach was, okay, Rick, I'm going out to lunch. Play something great, and I'll be back. So that's kind of the way we did it on that one.
It was quite free going on that.
Yeah. Just put a couple solos down that I liked. He came back and said, oh, yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Now, Rick, how was it playing with Timothy B. Schmidt from the Eagles?
Well, it's funny because the way I got to know him was his wife and my wife had we had our first child at the same time, and they had a girl and we had a boy, and somehow Timothy's wife and my wife got friendly, and they started coming over the house. So at first I knew him just as a new dad, not so much as one of the Eagles. The Eagles had kind of broken up at that point. So then later he started doing solo records, and so it was just kind of like somebody I knew as a friend more than somebody from the Eagles.
And I mean, you even played with Roger McGuinn, from the Byrds.
Yeah, we did a record called Thunderbird, and it was very, very popular in Europe because we played on the very first TV show, music television broadcast that was ever done in Europe, and it reached millions and millions and millions of people, and it became very popular. But the record company here in America, Columbia Records, did not realize how popular and how much potential we had in Europe, and so they never promoted that record. Too bad.
How did you get in contact with John Mayall to record with him in the mid-'70s?
Well, they contacted me. I was friends with Larry Taylor, the bass player from Canned Heat, and he had been working with Mayall for a couple of years. And when John needed a new guitar player, he recommended me. So I went up to John's house, and we played, I think, 2 songs. At the end of the second song, he says, well, you're in if you want the gig. I said, yeah, I'll take it.
Have you ever met someone like Eric Clapton before?
Yes. I met him when I was with Bonnie Raitt in 1998, 99. We went on tour in Europe as an opening act for Eric Clapton. So I used to see him every day for a couple of weeks.
When's the last time you've seen him?
Then.
It's incredible, the stuff you accomplished on the albums and stuff, because how big is the list, you figure? Over 200 albums?
Maybe. I don't know. Like I said, that started in the early 70s, so, that's 40 years ago. And the last 10 years, or 15 years, there hasn't been nearly as much because, you don't have as many solo artists recording. The music business has really changed. The type of music that's popular has changed. So I was just glad I was in Los Angeles for 25 years when I was, because there was a lot of work there and there was a lot of people that were recording and so on.
Well, Rick, it's been a pleasure talking to you and grabbing a piece of history.
Well, thank you for thinking of me that way. I appreciate the interest. Okay, I appreciate that. Thanks very much.